Like, as this podcast is a testament to, it depends what Rod Smallwood says.
Yeah.
So.
Hello and welcome to Maiden Voyages, a podcast where we usually dissect and look at every single Iron Maiden album in chronological order. But today, in a departure from the usual schedule, we're doing an emergency podcast.
It's not an emergency.
It's not an emergency.
There is nothing urgent.
We're fine. At the time of recording, Iron Maiden are fine. Everyone is fine. But we did something quite fun 2 weeks ago, Sam. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, although it feels already a bit like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Such is the mundanity of real
The
life.
drudgery of life.
Relentless grind.
Well, we should probably... Well, no, let's say what we're going to do first. So we went to go see Iron Maiden in Birmingham on the Future Past tour.
Maiden.
And so we thought, like seemingly most Maiden podcasts have done, albeit much earlier and sooner than we have.
Look, we had things going on.
We did.
You know? Life persists.
Yeah, a little inside. My family were devastated by the norovirus, which postponed the recording of this podcast by some time. But yeah, we're just going to talk about the gig, aren't we? That's the plan. Talk about the gig, thoughts, what we liked about it. So let's introduce ourselves. I mean, I presume the people listening have been listening. They know who we are now.
At this point, they've got to know. But
say you just want more hot gossip from the Future Past tour, and this is the first time you've listened. I'm Blev, an historian of sorts, and I am an Iron Maiden... I was going to say a convert, but I converted to Iron Maiden a long time ago.
Yeah, you were raised in the Church of Maiden.
Yeah, I was. I am an Iron Maiden... Help me out here, Sam.
Priest.
Crusader. Yeah, priest. Yeah, an Iron Maiden...
Missionary.
A missionary, thank you.
An Iron missionary.
Yeah, an Iron Maiden missionary. Not to be confused with Bruce Dickinson's second novel in the Lord Iffy Boat Race series, The Missionary Position.
Lovely.
I am just an Iron Maiden missionary. And I'm joined by Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a writer of sorts, and I am an Iron Maiden, I guess, colonial convert.
Yeah.
Of some kind.
Iron Maiden came to your town
and forced me to worship them.
Forced you to worship them.
Just like any good British expat would do.
Well,
really,
indeed, yeah, and in a way...
My ancestors were ravaged by this country.
Focused by Iron Maiden.
And Iron Maiden.
And Iron Maiden, yeah. So, let's cast our minds back 2 weeks into the distant past, and it's 5 p.m, it's Tuesday. Was it July the 4th?
Yes, July the 4th.
July the 4th, and... we're in the car in Cardiff.
I don't think we need to go into this much detail.
I was going to go through all the motorways we did. M50. So Cardiff to Birmingham, everyone. M50 up to Monmouth. M5.
Stop it. You must stop this. We had a very exciting 2.5 hour drive to Birmingham.
We were both quite tired.
We're both pretty knackered.
I mean, Tuesday is not a rock and roll day of the week.
Absolutely not. Both had a full day of work beforehand. Rushed out to get to Birmingham.
A little bit stressed we were actually going to get there in time to see Iron Maiden.
But we got in there with ample time. Enough time, in fact, to go visit Dixie's Chicken.
Just Dixie Chicken, Sam.
Dixie Chicken?
Yeah, just
whatever.
It's not Dixie's Chicken, it's Dixie Chicken. Fine purveyors of fried chicken.
Some trash chicken.
It was good
That
chicken.
was satisfying. And then we went to the gig.
Yeah.
In time to see, I think, half of the set of Lords of the Lost.
Yeah, which was probably about enough for me.
Yeah.
So we missed Maiden Nepo Babies, The Raven Age, sorry, because we were eating chicken.
I mean, to be fair, by the time we got there, chicken aside, I don't think we would have seen Nepo Babies.
I don't know, we got there at what, 7:10?
Yeah.
Probably.
How long did we spend eating chicken?
Hell.
Time flies at Dixie
really
Chicken.
Fly, Dixie Chicken. But yeah, sadly we missed The Raven Age. Some people have been enjoying them. So what I've seen online.
Some doing some heavy lifting there.
Yeah, so good for them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to go on to great things. And yeah, well, before we get into Lords of the Lost, the Birmingham Utilita Arena, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Utilita?
Utilita. I don't know.
Utilita.
I've never heard that word in my life.
No, like it previously known as the National Indoor Arena,
Right.
which is so I'd been there once before to see Aussie in about 2007, I think. Which I think in hindsight was probably the last year Aussie was probably worth seeing. Sorry, Aussie. I
brutal.
Well, it's just, I feel bad now because it's helped in such a bad way. But all thoughts and wishes to Ozzy Osbourne. But
what Aussie album would that have been supporting? Was that Black Rain?
Yeah, it was Black Rain, which is not a great album.
But it has Gus G, right?
No, that was so. This was the last. What do you mean? Obviously, he had.
I mean, Zach is great.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. I just really like Gus G.
Mike Borden on drums.
Oh,
and
okay.
Who's on bass? Randy Castillo. Oh, no, he's a drummer. Randy Castillo. I can't remember who the bass player was.
Oh.
But yeah, Ozzy still had it then, and from what I've seen since,
I don't think he did.
Well, he could do. I mean, as much as he ever had it. Let's be honest.
Okay, fine.
You know, he's never been. You know, we'll talk about great frontman and Bruce Dickinson. He's never been Bruce, even in his 70s heyday. But yeah, so we're not here to talk about Ozzy Osbourne.
It's a real tangent.
Yeah, the Birmingham Indoor Utilita Arena.
Some arena in Birmingham. It's a huge venue.
Yeah.
Like much bigger than I expected it to be. I think my perception of arena sizes has been like warped by Cardiff International Arena, which is a lovely venue, but quite small by arena standards.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the International Arena, I think, is only about a 7,000 to 8,000 cap venue.
Yeah, that's pretty dinky arena size.
Arena size, yeah.
Because Utilita must have been, I don't know, 12,000 or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the internet will tell us, Sam.
Let's find out.
But I'd always presumed in Birmingham, because I've seen Maiden in Birmingham once before on the Legacy of the Beast tour, but then they were playing the NEC, which I always presumed, that's the big arena. And
15,000.
15,000.
800.
Jeez.
So I was close.
That's pretty much the size of the O2 in London, isn't it?
I think O2 in London might be 20.
Good Lord. But yeah, so like you, I walked in and thought, wow, this is a big old room. And then also...
Yeah, the O2 is 20,000.
20. And Maiden played 2 nights there.
40,000
people. I mean, yeah. But yeah, even doing Lords of the Lost, I remember looking around at the seats and thinking, wow, this is properly sold out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a packed venue. And just by good fortune of where we happened to enter in, despite being quite late to the gig, we were able to get quite near the front, which was nice.
Yeah, which was lucky because we were able to do a little bit of weaving. Because when you walked in, it did look pretty much just like a wall of people.
There's always gaps.
Yeah, so you managed to get quite a good spot by the time Maiden came on. But before we get into Maiden, Lords of the Lost, what did you think of them? I knew, other than the fact they were Germany's Eurovision entry this year, I knew nothing about them.
Yeah, I mean, as a big Eurovision fan, I watched them on Eurovision this year. They sort of seemed like... I know it's sort of boring to say a bit like Rammstein, but they are a bit like Rammstein with a little bit of like a more...
Rob Zombie was my sort of vibe as well.
Yeah, like a slightly more poppier side of things.
They were very slick.
Yeah.
Weren't they? They were very polished, and...
I mean, they put on a good show.
Yeah.
I have no desire to see them again, but at the same time, if they're at a festival, I'd probably enjoy it.
That's what I was thinking. I thought at 4:00 in the afternoon at a Bloodstock or a Wacken,
yeah,
it'd be a perfectly nice time for a pint in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, musically...
Weird fit for a Maiden gig, though.
Yeah, but at this point in time, I'm very used to Maiden...
I just don't get
odd support.
Yeah, Maiden's support game is very bizarre.
And I get it. They like to go for younger bands. But I think sometimes Maiden's idea of what the zeitgeist is...
There's a little bit of a vibe.
Lost.
Yeah, there's something about the way Maiden picks support bands that kind of feels like... You know, when you read interviews with legacy bands and they kind of say stuff like, yeah, you know... I've been listening to all these new bands and, you know, these young upstarts, Slipknot are really cool, or Evanescence, or like Lamb of God. Like, they just name check bands that aren't actually, you know, A, that young anymore, and B, like their sort of zeitgeisty moment has passed in some ways. It's like your dad scrolling through TikTok and just being like, yes, I enjoy the music of Lizzo.
Yeah,
Is that right? Should it be Lizzie?
Hey guys, Baby Shark. Come on.
Yeah. It's like being sent a lot of memes on WhatsApp by your parents.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, they were perfectly fine. But it was at that point, I don't know about you, but like we are people who go to more live music than the average person, right? We go to quite a few gigs compared to, your typical person in the street. So my levels of excitement going into gigs these days are often quite muted.
Yeah, and I think also at the stress of like getting from Cardiff to Birmingham, until we got to the gig, I was still just kind of like, I've just finished work and we're in a car and meat chicken, park? What's happening?
Oh my God. But as soon as it dawned upon me we were there, I just get more excited to see Maiden live than pretty much any other band. There's a level of anticipation that is just, they're going to be there on that stage. There's going to be Bruce and Steve and everyone else.
I think there's a fair amount of consistency to Maiden shows. You're going to have a good time. But I think being in a big venue like that, completely sold out, there's just a buzz and a vibe to the crowd. So even whilst you're waiting, there's like this collective cloud of anticipation for what's about to unfold. And actually, you don't always get that at gigs.
No, you don't. Well, especially on Tuesday night when everyone's thinking, Christ, I got work tomorrow. Tired.
Yeah, exactly. Like a friend of mine went to see Pulp at Cardiff International Arena
I know people who are there.
a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. It was a Wednesday night, and they just said the vibe was totally dead. The gig was great.
Really?
Pulp were fantastic, but people were just tired.
Even Disco 2000 is.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I said. It's like, how is no one jumping for Disco 2000? But they said a lot of the crowd were just like pretty lethargic.
Wow.
Which is a shame. But not every gig always has that vibe. And like sometimes it depends where you are in the crowd anyway.
And also, I hate to be that person who is somehow positing that Maiden fans are superior to other fans.
To be that person that I am.
But I am, because they are the best fans. No, but there's a level of... there aren't many people... Like when bands reach the level where they fill arenas, you inevitably tend to attract, like Pulp will, a fair degree of casual fans.
Yeah.
Like when we went to go see The Cure, for example, there were plenty of diehard Cure fans there, and there were plenty of people who were just... Oh, yeah, I like Friday I'm in Love.
Yeah.
And there's something going on in town and I feel like a night out. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having those people there. But you just get the feeling, especially in the standing section at least, that virtually all those people are pretty rabid Iron Maiden fans.
Oh, right? It's a cult. It's an absolute cult.
Isn't it? Yeah, just... it doesn't surprise you to notice that virtually everyone is wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt, although not Sam. Boo! I was double Maidening. I had a Maiden t-shirt and a Maiden hoodie in case I got cold.
None of my Maiden shirts.
It was actually too warm in the venue.
It's been a long few years. I don't know what you want from me.
Get a new Maiden shirt.
Yeah, maybe I will. But yeah, I think it's testament to the weird thing about Maiden in that they're weirdly still one of the biggest bands on the planet, one of the biggest live acts on the planet, and yet they're so not considered mainstream, not considered part of pop culture in many ways, unlike a band like Metallica, who people probably would casually go see Metallica even if they think it's a bit heavy. They're like, it's Metallica, it's an event, maybe I'll go to it. Whereas with Maiden, it does, as a band, they just inspire like a slightly rabid loyalty that not many other bands can inspire, and so it's like the world's worst kept secret.
Yeah, and we'll get onto the set list in a second, but playing a set list of what was basically mostly deep cuts.
If you had
people going
never
crazy
seen Maiden before, and this was your first Maiden gig, you would just kind of be like, what is this set?
Yeah, like,
why have you not played Run to the Hills?
You'd be totally baffled, but that wasn't the vibe in the room at all.
No.
People just going like, oh my God, opening of Caught Somewhere in Time. Yes.
Yeah.
Before we get onto that though, because we talked about how packed it was and how, much the crowd were into it. if you're into sort of 80s rock and metal, they're...
Hate it. Hate those things.
Yeah, rubbish. What a terrible era and genre.
Guitars, solos.
It's kind of interesting that around this time, if you're living in the UK, you had no shortage of other 80s rock and metal bands you could have seen.
Yeah.
And yet the word on the street is that their concerts were not especially as well attended as Maiden's were.
What of the bands?
Well, I was thinking specifically of Def Leppard and Motley Crue.
Yeah, although the photos of that, wasn't it the Motley Crue set that was pretty empty? I heard things filled out a bit more for Lex.
Yeah, a bit more, but they'd have to fill out a hell of a lot more to compensate for how. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Def Leppard and Motley Crue have been co-headlining an UK tour and bizarrely took the decision to play stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest...
which is a level of hubris.
I love Def Leppard.
Yeah,
there is no world nowadays in 2023 that they're going to be selling out Wembley Stadium.
No.
Like that is...
In America, they can get away with that, right? They are a bigger proposition, and Motley Crue are a much bigger proposition in the States, but the photos that emerged online of the attendance... Like I said, specifically doing Motley Crue set at Wembley Stadium, not arena, stadium.
Should have played arena.
They really should have played the arena. But even the Kiss tour, the farewell tour, I heard... Well, they cancelled one of the dates.
Really?
Logistics. Yeah, they were meant to be playing...
Quote, unquote, logistics.
Well, yeah, because weirdly, they managed to get all their equipment
to the
UK. Yeah, they got all their equipment and stuff to the UK, but they couldn't get it to Portsmouth or Plymouth or wherever they were meant to be playing stadium. Oddly, that date got pulled, and I heard lots of things about the O2 shows. They weren't sold out, but they were basically giving away tickets on the day.
Wow.
Just like, buy one, get one free. There were lots of promotional offers going on to try and shift what were quite a lot of unsold tickets.
Wow, that's shocking. I mean, like, I'm going to admit that I'm a huge Kiss fan.
Oh yeah, no shame. I'm a big Kiss fan.
Some shame, but at the same time, like I didn't make any effort to go to the shows. They were expensive. None of them were near us. I didn't want to go to. Interestingly, I wouldn't go to Birmingham to see Kiss, but I would go to Birmingham to see Maiden, and I don't know, maybe there's the combo of like Kiss tickets being expensive and the shows maybe not being so great
Well,
anymore.
that's the other thing, isn't it? Weren't Kiss, and I think similarly Motley Crue and Leopard, trying to flog their tickets for about over £100?
Yeah.
They talk of 150 quid for a standing ticket, which is...
It's punchy. Punchy considering, Paul's voice is gone.
Well, yeah, punchy and clearly just... I mean, I imagine the Maiden tickets were £80, weren't they?
Yeah, which, to be fair, is more than I would like to pay. But at least with Maiden, as I said before, there's a consistency to a Maiden gig. You know it's going to be at least like an 8 out of 10 experience.
And what kind of galls me a bit is if Maiden can tour, taking the production they've got, playing the venues they've got, selling tickets for 80 quid, and presumably still turning quite a handsome profit, then you look at a band like Kiss, whose production is not particularly bigger.
Kiss's production is pretty big, and they are coming over.
Is the price bigger?
No, but they are coming over from the States, and there are just so many logistical and financial things that have made touring in the UK a bit of a nightmare for any international act.
Yeah.
So Maiden do have like a bit of a cost benefit there,
a bit
as a local band,
but it still just seems like.
But yeah,
I can't believe there isn't just a slight element of greed here, of thinking how much can we possibly hope to squeeze out of people?
Yeah, I'm sure Kiss have like if we're not making this like specific profit level, we're not doing the gig.
Yeah,
like they must have.
Yeah, but it's probably just not
basic business.
Gene Simmons getting out of bed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I've seen Kiss a couple of times, and one of the times I saw him was an incredible gig. It was a warm-up before their, I guess, 2010 arena tour, and it was in Islington Academy, so like 800 capacity venue or something. Nice. No support band. Tickets were like 50 quid, so pretty punchy for Islington Academy. I think they played for like an hour because like it was really hot in there, and they were like in full garb, and you could kind of see Gene being like, "We're done, we're leaving. This is too much." So. Yeah, I think Gene will call it quits when he wants.
But the problem, yeah, exactly. But also, it's counterproductive, isn't it? Because Maiden are playing arenas sold out. Motley Crue and Def Leppard pricing the tickets as they do are then reduced to quite the slight humiliation of having to play to a stadium that's like a quarter full. And you think if you just there are many problems here, like the choice of venue, but also your pricing is clearly a problem.
Yeah.
Because and ditto Kiss. If Kiss, like, this is unconfirmed, but on Twitter there were people saying, "Oh yeah, I managed to get a ticket to the O2 for literally just the price of the booking fee on the day.
Whoa.
It's like £9." So that's clearly pricing is one of the problems there. If they're literally giving away tickets to try and fill it out a bit.
But also, to be honest, having those 3 bands touring within like a month window of each other in the UK, whoever's deciding to organise those tours to be together is making a bad call, because those are 3 bands that must have huge audience overlaps. People are stretched for cash at the moment, so are making first world problems in some ways, but making choices about what gigs they attend because everyone's kind of suffering from the cost of living crisis. So it's kind of like, well, why would you put 3 big 80s rock metal bands touring at the same time?
Because, and that's before you get to Guns N' Roses are in town as well.
Yeah. It's kind of the weird call, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would think you would space those tours out a bit so that people might be able to save up for a ticket.
But the good news is people voted with their feet and they came to see Maiden, the right choice.
I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people saw Guns N' Roses as well.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we could go down a whole rabbit hole of Guns N' Roses.
No.
Well, we'll certainly, Bruce's voice will come up and Axel might make an interesting comparison when we get there. But let's talk about the gig.
Woo!
So rather than going through the entire set, because you know what the set list is by now. I mean, you've probably seen the concert. Like, why you need to? You've got your own memories of it. Why you need to hear us talk about it?
You're just here to not even live vicariously through us, but to remember vicariously through us.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. At Maiden Pod on Twitter, remember?
Send us your gig photos.
So rather than go through the whole set list, take me through some highlights, Sam. Like, what favourite tracks?
Well, okay, the beginning is just incredible. So the opener, Caught Somewhere in Time, which I would like to add, Blevin was entirely right in the Dream set list episode about how they would perform it, with like the beginning bit being on a backing tape and then
the Blade Runner intro.
And there would be a Blade Runner intro, and then as soon as it goes to the everyone runs on stage and there's pyro. Like 100% accurate.
And I'd like to stress, and this is true for both of us, we knew the set list, but we deliberately avoided watching footage and pictures, right? So it was as fresh as it can be in the 21st century, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which was great. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah, I had no idea what the stage design was and stuff. And so I loved like them going for the cyberpunk look and having these sort of vaguely Neo-Tokyo-esque backgrounds and stuff. So yeah, having Caught Somewhere in Time followed by Stranger in a Strange Land. What an incredible 1-2 punch to kick off. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the highlights. It's worth noting Bruce maybe messed up Stranger in a Strange Land ever so slightly at one point.
Doing a bit of digging on the internet, he also messed it up in Nottingham as well, which I think
that's interesting. Maybe it's just like, it hasn't been in the set for so long.
Yeah. So
having teething issues.
He came in. He went into the chorus.
So after the second verse, where it goes to a modulation before going into the chorus, he went into the chorus.
Yeah.
And then realized halfway through the word stranger, he's meant to be doing a
That's it, yeah.
But he started it out.
Yeah, he did.
He laughed it off.
And as a 1-2 punch, wow. You mentioned the stage set, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I was surprised that with the stage design, they clearly lent more into Somewhere in Time than Senjutsu.
Oh yeah, entirely.
Which I was surprised by that, because watching the second leg of Legacy of the Beast, the post-COVID leg, they actually had quite a cool backdrop, which was very much like a Japanese pagoda. Is that the word I'm looking for? And it was like a very oriental type theme, and they just ditched all of that. I thought they might save some of that for this production.
I mean, maybe the logic was because Senjutsu obviously has like a samurai Imperial Japan vibe to it. And then all this cyberpunk stuff has a lot of roots in sort of a neo version of Japan. Maybe they just kind of figured, well, if we put all the Senjutsu stuff through the lens of futuristic stuff, it all kind of clicks together in a weird way.
Yeah, and it did, to be fair. But I thought that was an interesting call that they...
I think it was a great call because, to be honest, I find the Senjutsu stuff quite boring. So
you heard it here first, folks.
Well, look, we'll come on to the album one day and we'll see what I have to say about it then.
What Sam has to say about it then. But yeah, and the lights I thought were really cool. Like, it's not often in a Maiden show I'm paying that much attention to the lights, but they were just like very Blade Runner, basically. Yeah. Blade Runner, Knight Rider car type neon lights. That was...
How great would it be if Knight Rider car came out?
Well, instead of Eddie.
Instead of Eddie, just a car and it starts talking.
Rob Halford coming in on a motorbike. Dickinson comes in Knight Rider.
David Hasselhoff appears.
I think Hasselhoff would be up for it.
Yeah, I don't think Maiden would be up for hiring Hasselhoff.
He spends a lot of time in the UK now. Now he's got a Welsh wife.
Really?
Yeah, his wife is naturally about 25, 30 years younger than him and comes from Gleneath.
Oh, that's icky.
Yeah, they met when he was doing... This is a tangent. He was doing the X Factor. Briefly, he was a judge. Sure. And they had open auditions in Cardiff. And he met her in a shop in Cardiff where she was working in retail.
Wow.
And now they're married.
The future is weirder than I ever could have anticipated.
Isn't it? Yeah.
In ways that I couldn't have anticipated.
You can go down a real wormhole of David Hasselhoff like wearing Welsh rugby shirts when Wales are playing now and going, come on, Wales, yeah.
Anyway.
So, the stage that was awesome.
Yeah.
Loads of Eddies.
Yeah. The Stranger in a Strange Land Eddie only appeared briefly, though.
Yeah, was that a malfunction?
It was hard to tell. It could have just been a stylistic choice because he's sort of that Lone Ranger thing, sort of leaning against the side of the stage. Maybe it was deliberate, but it kind of seemed like he would have been walking around more.
Yeah, it was slightly odd, but nonetheless cool to get an Eddie song too, not messing about.
Yeah,
like, boom, strong. Have an Eddie, have another Eddie. I particularly liked, in terms of the stage set, during Heaven Can Wait, when Bruce and Eddie are having the dueling gun battle. Like Cyborg's about Time Eddie versus Bruce with that mounted pyro gun thing. Yeah,
giving Bruce Dickinson like a gun turret on the stage with like pyro effects to fight Cyborg Eddie was inspired. Yeah. It's just very silly.
Very silly, but also really very nicely choreographed. A nice like set piece that was just very well done. And the pyro doing Hell on Earth, because it was a relatively, compared to the Legacy of the Beast production, it was a really impressive production. It was a slightly more, ever so slightly toned down from Legacy of the Beast.
Yeah, but I think Legacy of the Beast was deliberately going like, well, it's a celebration of our whole career.
Here is the kitchen sink.
Yeah, bam. Exactly. Like, here's a Spitfire. Here's Bruce in costumes every 30 seconds. Here is all the backdrops money can buy.
I do like, though, that Maiden, because that was the other stylistic choice that's at first for Maiden, is the use of, I'm not talking about the screens that just relay like the video from what's happening on stage, like the use of like electronic screens as a kind of a part of the backdrop, but not the whole backdrop. So we've still got just classic woven backdrops of artwork and then those little screen strips.
Which was really nice because usually they extended the backdrop, added a little bit of animation, so it kind of made it feel a bit more alive. Or at times it was just like Senjutsu Eddie versus Cyborg Eddie. It definitely added an extra little bit of coolness.
And I think more often than not, when bands go down that giant screen behind them route, it can be done well, but more often than not, it just looks rubbish. I mean, I'm pointing at you, Guns N' Roses, having watched that Glastonbury set, where they've just got this giant screen behind them that plays these rubbish animated videos, and you just think, oh.
To be fair, lots of other bands can pull it off. It's, for whatever reason, Guns N' Roses just has very bad animation.
Even Metallica, I've seen Metallica play in front of a giant screen. When they're doing Fuel, and rather than actual pyro, they've just got a video of some flames in the background. I'm just going,
that's not
that's rubbish.
But then it's quite nice when bands just use it to put the video feed on that screen behind them.
Yeah, that's quite fun.
That's quite cool. obviously it's been 20 minutes and I haven't mentioned Halloween yet, but Halloween used the screen quite well. But they did use it for cheesy animations. But in the context of Halloween, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Halloween can get away with it. But yeah, no, I thought that was a very nice choice. I know Adrian Smith in an interview talking about his tour said he was quite happy with those little screens bringing something subtle, a bit different, and they were really considered and well thought through. And and I've lost my train of thought about the production. Pyro for doing Hell on Earth, because the pyro was relatively restrained, and then you get to Hell on Earth, and it just felt like everything's on fire.
It was so hot.
It was already quite hot.
Yeah. But like towards the end of the set, you just have a song where it's almost constant pyro throughout. It's like, oh, I might melt.
And of course, it's a Tuesday. I'm driving, so we're not boozing, so we don't have any. Foolishly, didn't take any refreshment into the arena with us.
It was very, very parched afterwards.
Yeah, my mouth was dry.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that was great. While we get to Hell on Earth, because we've, already gone.
Should we talk about the Senjutsu songs?
Yeah, well, let's go to you as the arch Senjutsu denier.
So I was surprised in that actually I thought a lot of the Senjutsu stuff came off better live. So I quite enjoyed Writing on the Wall. I thought that had a good vibe.
I certainly enjoyed it more live than record, yeah.
Yeah. I thought Days of Future Past was good. And I thought Hell on Earth in particular was probably the best of the Senjutsu stuff.
Well, I think on record it is comfortably the best song on that album.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, but you'll have forgotten this by the time we get
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was really good live. But then you had...
Bold as an encore, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it's not that surprising that Maiden on their effectively their Senjutsu tour might put us in.
Oh yeah, Maiden have. I remember on the Dance of Death tour that the first song of the encore's Journeyman acoustic, which was
now that is bold.
That is bold. Yes, all of them acoustic guitars
with Nico on vocals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought those songs came across well. I thought the Time Machine's pretty boring, and Death of the Celts just goes on forever.
They all go on.
They all go on forever. But Death of the Celts was just like, it was quite cool having multiple guitar solos, but that song just didn't end. And I kind of found myself just praying it would end soon.
And it was, I'm someone who really, I've actually, since that gig, I have gone back to Senjutsu in its entirety, not in a single sitting, but in 2 sittings I've gone through it again. The fact I say gone through it as though it's some paper.
Gone through it and not in a single sitting. None of that bodes brilliant.
No, but I sort of come and go with it. I mean, all within a fairly defined parameter of I really don't like this to, actually it's okay.
Wow, what a ringing endorsement.
No, but with moments like, so I think Hell on Earth is a genuinely great song.
Yeah.
I'm actually pleased they played that, and I'm glad that was in the set. And Time Machine and Death of Celts, I actually really enjoyed live. I thought, this is great. A lot of Celtic... We're going to get into a review of the album now. But lots of the Celtic-y folk jigs where I sort of go, this is kind of a bit like Dance of Death, isn't it?
But not as good.
But not quite as good. But yeah, live I thought was very entertaining. And worth mentioning, Death of Celts, the Celts was the one where Bruce was teeing us up with a really long monologue about Can I Play With Madness? And I was looking at the backdrop behind him and I was going... That doesn't
sound right.
And eventually, Steve just gives him a little tap on the shoulder, whispers in his ear. He goes, "Oh, no, sorry. Let's play Can I Play With Madness now."
I really enjoyed seeing Steve Harris sort of sheepishly go up to Bruce and like, "Mate, you got the wrong song."
I just love how long he let him go on as well.
Yeah.
Before clearly that was he was not going to introduce the right song, and Steve's just going, "I'll just let us play out. Maybe maybe he's going to. No, he's not. Okay,
yeah."
Okay.
I mean, mercifully, we did have Can I Play With Madness after Death of the Celts.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, you'd be happy. I mean, not track 1 as it was in your dream set list.
No, which I still think would be the best opening ever. But, yeah, I mean, I just love that song. What a lovely upbeat track.
Yeah, and, it's worth mentioning, so some of the songs that aren't on Somewhere in Time and Senjutsu, because, again, pretty much a set entirely of deep cuts. And you'd think, with the remaining space in the set list, you'd go... Well, let's give them the stuff they know. And yet they still drop, like, The Prisoner.
Yeah,
which is not
The Prisoner was cool live.
The only song they played off Number of the Beast.
A good good backdrop of Port Merion.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate
strong.
that.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. So we've got The Prisoner, and then, of course, we've got The Trooper, Fear of the Dark,
Yeah.
Wasted Years. So, of course, that's off Summer in Time anyway, but sort of transcended that.
I mean, what we haven't touched on, obviously, is the epic that got its airing out.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of my highlights from that gig was just hearing Bruce Dickinson scream Macedonia.
Yeah. Macedonia. Yeah, I remember it
Just like, yes.
Macedonia.
Like that. Yeah, I thought Alexander the Great came off fantastically live.
Yeah. Yeah, superb. And actually, I almost want to go back and revise some of the things I said about it when we did Somewhere in Time, because I was quite lukewarm about it. And now,
I'm telling you, it is a properly underrated epic.
It is, actually,
I really like Alexander the
I've almost
Great.
done a complete 180.
It is better than Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Oh,
I mean, I already said that before, and I'm just sticking with that.
that's a bad. But I would be more inclined to go. Oh, I get that now.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah, I loved it live. I thought it was great.
Was it
with the
with the gong,
mallet, and the
gong? So on that song, I've seen other things happen, like on other gigs, but at the Birmingham gig, Bruce was banging a gong above Nico's head, and then like the head came off his gong drum stick
beating? Yeah.
Beater, that's it. So he can no longer bang that gong. And it was quite funny.
Better than the gig, which I think was Dublin, where the gong
falls
on Nico.
on Nico. Yeah, that looks quite painful.
Yeah. You know,
Thank you, Blabbermouth, for bringing that to everyone's attention.
This is the news people need to know. And Nico, should we talk about, like, and it was a brilliant gig. None of this detracted from my enjoyment of it on the night. The performances, I thought, for people who are now in their mid-60s, for the most part, were amazing. I thought Bruce, having heard that Rock in Rio gig on the second leg of the Legacy of the Beast, I pointed you towards, and I was like, eek, he sounds very pitchy. This is not great.
I was really surprised at how strong Bruce sounded.
Yeah.
Like he was just on top form. He's clearly in incredible shape, running around the place while still belting things out. Yes, his voice has changed very considerably from like 30 years ago, but he just sounded strong.
Yeah.
It was really great performance.
You know, and again, watching Guns N' Roses at Glastonbury, you can't say that about all 80s.
No. I mean, I feel bad for Axl Rose. He's clearly just shredded his voice.
It's not his fault, but...
Yeah, and just can't sing it anymore. But what happens then is like all those songs that depended on this high, shrill, forceful screaming now just becomes this really weak, nasally falsetto.
And I think Bruce has been really good at just adapting his voice.
Yeah.
So he's still got an incredible range, but he's not...
The songs are definitely lower. They have to be, because his voice has dropped as he's gone.
Well, yeah, exactly. But he's sort of able to do that. But in a way, he's sort of... There's a depth to his voice that he didn't have when he was a younger singer. So you sort of lose a bit of top end, gain a bit of bottom end, and you sort of make it work for you. And as usual... Yeah, okay, Bruce made a couple of gaffes. So there's Somewhere in Time. Wasted Years went a bit wrong as well.
Yeah.
I watched that back and he comes into the chorus too early.
Yeah.
But he quickly corrects and it's...
I assume something went wrong with in-ear monitors.
There was one moment, I'm not sure if you spotted it at the gig. He did, when he was up on the ramparts doing one song, he did seem to have quite a lengthy, heated discussion of someone off stage, seeming to kind of gesture to his in-ear monitors. I think
that would make sense, because that kind of error is not... It can't really be a performance thing. You're not going to start the chorus 3 bars, 4 bars early.
He's not John Bon Jovi.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be because something technically has gone wrong.
Yeah, and he wasn't quite hearing things or getting the mix through he wanted or whatever. And and obviously everyone else is just on it. I thought Adrian Smith did an amazing shift.
Yeah.
What a player. I mean, Murray and Gers and Harris, but there was a lot of Smith.
Well, it was a lot of Smith songs.
Right? Yeah, a lot of Smith songs. And
which is the way it should be.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, and again, this in no way detracted from my enjoyment of the night.
Oh, he's going to detract.
But I didn't at the time. And I've watched stuff back just to confirm this, because I had a little niggle at the night. I think Nico is beginning to show signs of struggling a bit.
Well, a few people said that to us on Twitter when they were relaying their gig experience. And I hadn't noticed it on the night, but...
Do you know what made me notice it the night was... And let's be honest, Nico's 71. I think.
Yeah, he's
Someone
the
of his
oldest
age.
in the band,
Yeah,
right?
he is phenomenal, right? He's phenomenal for someone of his age. But the only thing at the night that made me go, I thought, that's the slowest Fear of the Dark I've heard live in a long time. Getting towards the end of the set, watch it back, because, I mean, to be fair, it's just played the speed it is on the record.
Yeah.
But I'm so used to it, the speed is up the da-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
And it was a small it was a much slower Fear of the Dark. And by the time you get to Wasted Years and a lot of the stuff in the encore, he's clearly simplifying fills and just trying to make it easier on himself, which is in no way really even a criticism, because I think fair play, mate, you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
At the end, when he came up to talk to the crowds, he always does, he looks quite frail.
I don't know, he was jumping about. He was literally jumping about on the stage, chucking out drumsticks.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know if
He didn't
jumping.
No, he was literally jumping.
he?
He was doing like this little bouncy thing that he does.
I just think
he didn't look frail to me. He looked surprisingly sprightly for a 71-year-old.
On the way to the first gig. I just think he's aged a lot since the pandemic, since I last saw them.
Yeah.
And he's the one that makes me wonder. I mean, there have been rumours he's not been well, or it's entirely conjecture, but he's the one you think, I'm not sure how much longer Nico can do it.
Well,
unless he's been unwell, in which case fair play to him. He's been struggling to get through his tour, and he'll be back to better health or whatever it is. It seems to be holding him back a little bit at the moment. But
I mean, I guess an elephant in the room of this tour and any subsequent tour is like, will this be the last Maiden tour? And whilst I don't think this would be the last Maiden tour, if like, for instance, Nico decides he has to bow out, is that the end of the band? Like, at what point, I'm curious at what point Maiden kind of decide, all right, we're calling it a day as a band, because there seems like a really good camaraderie in the lineup currently, and it would feel weird
this
replace
now
anyone
is
in
by
it.
far the longest and most stable Maiden lineup, because this incarnation has been together for what, 23 years?
Yeah. So it would be really weird if Nico left and they got another drummer at this point.
It would, yeah. And I'm not saying it's an impossibility, but you're right, it seems somewhat unlikely at this stage.
I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's pretty unclear where the Maiden camp's heads are at, and they seem to just be printing money constantly with these tours and with merchandising and with albums. So there's probably quite a strong business argument, like, not to stop and just find a replacement for whoever drops out. But it
they can. I mean, they've got a retirement fund, right? They're not.
Look, as this podcast is a testament to, it depends what Rod Smallwood says.
Yeah.
So
Rod.
Yeah.
But so well, I guess that's the gig. And I'm not sure if we said it enough, but it was amazing.
Yeah. I want to be clear that this is one of the best Maiden gigs I've been to.
Yeah, likewise.
Like, and maybe I think it was my 6th or 7th, and I'd say it's probably 3rd.
Yeah, see, I think it was number 11 for me, and it's hard to put it in the pecking order, but there's something about that set list. And also, it's worth saying that, like we said, at this stage in their career, Maiden can just, there's me kind of saying, oh, Nico's a bit this, that. They could just play a set of songs that have been playing forever that are totally in their comfort zone, and no one is going to care, right? They could just do the greatest hits and a few new songs, but they've actually chosen a really challenging set list, some stuff they've never played before.
Yeah.
Lots of long material. Like, fair play to
It's a hard set list to play. Because even for a younger band, it'd be like, this honestly, is hard material.
They don't, to shift tickets, they're clearly not struggling in that department.
Yeah.
They don't need to go, okay, here's a set of quite obscure, difficult songs we haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
If anything, Legacy of the Beast showed them, hey, here's the bangers, have some of this. But yeah, no, it was genuinely brilliant. And the fact it's been so long since I've seen Maiden now because of COVID, because they only did one UK date on that post-COVID Legacy of the Beast. It was a download headliner.
Yeah, that was it.
And so, we didn't get to download that year. So 2018 since we last saw Maiden, which for me is a hell of a long time. because usually I don't have to go much more than about 2 years. 3 years and the boys are back in town.
You sound like an addict.
Well,
Copping for a fix.
I was thinking, 2003, I saw them 2006, 2008 twice, 2010, 13, 16, 18.
That's a lot of Maiden.
And then 5 years I had to wait.
Yeah.
So, worth it. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Really, really fantastic gig. I think any criticisms we have are just like...
We need something to talk about.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like I've said before on this podcast, like I think one of the signs that you really love something is that you're able to think about it critically and like to have things to say about it critically, and not in like a I'm going to dress Nico McBrain down kind of way, but it's just because you know the thing so well.
Sounds like marriage counselling.
It does.
One of the signs of such relationships, you can think about the marriage critically, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure this applies to relationships.
That doesn't mean we don't love each other.
I feel like that will end in tears.
Why do you leave the tea towel on the side?
I just mean in terms of fandom specifically.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like sycophantic fan bases. Like I mentioned my enjoyment of Devin Townsend on this show quite a lot, and I find Devin Townsend fans pretty intense.
I mean, we do a Maiden podcast, mate. You don't need to reach for a comparison.
Yeah, okay. Maiden fans can be pretty intense, right? So yeah, I think it's...
But luckily not the people who seem to listen to this. You're very measured.
Yeah, you seem like a nice lot.
Yeah.
Nice little community.
And if you want to meet the nice people, why not follow us at Maiden Pod?
Good.
Lovely segue.
Good plug.
Lovely
Strong.
segue. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend.
Yeah.
Leave us a nice rating, because we've got some ratings on Spotify, Sam.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
Very flattering.
4.9.
Although Blevin did tell me that one of the ratings was him,
One of them is me.
which slightly dampened the majesty of that.
And also, where's that? Why 0.9? Why have we lost 0.1?
Yeah. When I showed it
Get
to my
out,
partner,
you're not welcome here.
when I showed it to my partner, she was just like, why wouldn't everyone just vote 5? That seems weird. And
5
a bit
stars,
cruel.
go home.
Yeah, you heard it here first. 5 stars will go ahead.
Go home. Yeah. Don't want you here. God.
Anyway,
Sorry, I got
on
quite
that
angry
note,
towards the end.
I think that's probably quite a good time to wrap up this episode. We'll go back to our normal album analysis soon.
Yeah, no. Well, I was going to say No Prayer for the Dying coming up, but
Well, yeah, we're actually going to do a little shift. So we discussed No Prayer for the Dying, and actually listening to it, it feels like there's a big contextual milestone that we have to broach first, which is
the first ASAP album.
No,
No.
although that'd be cool. But the first Bruce Dickinson album, Tattooed Millionaire, actually feels like it sets up a lot of the, I don't know, like the backdrop for No Prayer for the Dying and everything that comes with it. So we're going to touch on Tattooed Millionaire and then we'll go into No Prayer.
Happy days. Look forward to it.
Thanks.
Right,
Bye.
cheerio. Bye.